Alright, here we are with a new video, and today's video is going to be all about training intensity and how to actually plan this out throughout a full training program. Now, I've actually talked about this multiple times in previous videos, but I kindly only mentioned it. Today I'm going to go full in depth on how intensity actually changes and how to plan it out properly if you want to make some long-term progress. Now, first and foremost, we obviously have to talk about what intensity actually is. Intensity essentially stands for effort that you put into a set. This can be the amount of weight that you lift, but it can also be the amount of volume that you do in one specific workout. So a set of 5 with a 5 rep max is very intense, but a set of 5 at a 15 rep max is not very intense at all. Doing 3 sets of 5 with a 15 rep max is not very intense, but doing 5 sets of 5 with a 15 rep max is very intense. So intensity isn't necessarily the amount of weight that you use, but it's the amount of effort that you put into one singular set. The way that I want you to think about training intensity is that imagine that you have a very long highway that ends up in a massive pile of mud, and you have a car standing on the side of the mud still on the highway, and your goal is to get as far into the mud as you can possibly go. Now, if you have more than 2 brain cells, you probably know that you have to reverse your car back as far as possible to gain as much speed and momentum possible before you actually drive your car into the muds. The highway stands for chunks of training where the weight is submaximal, where the form is very clean, and where you know that you'll finish every single set with the desired amount of rep that you plan out for yourself. The mud, on the other hand, stands for periods of time where the intensity and the effort is going to be substantially higher. You're really talking about PR territory, parts of your training where you're actually trying to set new personal bests, mostly at the end of your mesocycles. Now, in every single well-run training program, you're always going to ensure that you have the ebb and flow of training. So long periods of time where intensity is going to be lower, quality is going to be higher, leading into short periods of time where the intensity is going to be a lot higher, and where the effort required to finish your sets is going to be substantially higher. Now, what most people do is actually just not reverse their car back at all and drive into the mud without any momentum gained. And what this leads to is very slow progress. It's very counterproductive, and it's extremely frustrating since they really can't seem to make any more progress. And the reason for that is because they never took the amount of time needed to gain momentum before they hit the mud in the first place. Now, let's take a look at how intensity actually changes throughout a training program, and I'm going to give you guys 2 examples, one wave program and one step loading program. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is Juggernaut, and we're going to be taking a look at the full program, but more specifically the first 2 mesocycles. So let's take a look at our first training block, really focused on sets of 10. So week 1 is going to be a 5x10 with a 60% of your 1 rep max. Week 2, a 3x5 with 67.5%, and then week 3 is going to be a top set with 75%. So week 1 is going to be very easy because 65% is about a 20 rep max for most people. So doing a 5x10 with that weight is going to be very easy. Week 2 is going to be a 3x10 on 67.5%, which is about a 15 rep max for most people. So we're getting a lot closer towards the maximum weight that you can use to do 3 sets of 10. So intensity is slowly but surely kind of increasing. The amount of effort required is going to be higher than on week 1, and then week 3 is an AMRAP with 75% or about a 10 rep max. Very high effort, very high intensity, once again towards the end of your training block. So towards the end of that mesocycle, you have a very intense week, so you kind of need to reset a bit and kind of give yourself an easy week of training to recover. So we're going to be jumping into the next mesocycle, or the cycle we're really going to focus on our sets of 8. So here on week 1, we're going to be doing a 5x8 at 65%, week 2 a 3x8 on 72.5%, and week 3 a AMRAP with 80%. So week 1 once again is going to be substantially easier because 65% is about a 15 rep max for most people. Doing a 3x8 on that is going to be relatively easy. Week 2 is going to be a 75.5% for a 3x8, so about about a 10 rep max for most people. This 3x8 is going to be a little bit more difficult, but definitely doable on week 2. And then week 3 is an AMRAP with about 80% or an 8 rep max for most people. Once again, kind of a very hard, very intense week to kind of finish off this mesocycle. And if you then take a look at the full program consisting of 4 mesocycles, you see that the intensity actually changes quite a lot throughout the mesocycle, really kind of increasing throughout every single block and then kind of resetting when you start off the next one. And so throughout a full program, as you guys can see, you kind of get an ebb and flow of training. Long periods of time building up towards very intense workouts, which is the way that most intelligently designed programs are run. Then the next example that we're going to take a look at is step progression. So we're going to be step loading with about 65% of your 1 rep max for sets of 10. So week 1 a 3x10, week 2 a 4x10, week 5 a 5x10. So week 1 a 3x10 with about 65% or about a 15 rep max for most people is going to be relatively easy, definitely not hard work by any means. Week 2 is going to be a 4x10. Now because of even though that the weight does not increase, because you're doing more work with that same weight, you're definitely going to fit it towards like set 4, but it's still going to be like manageable. And then week 5 is going to be a 5x10, once again at 65%. Doing 5 sets of 10 with about 65% definitely is going to be kind of spicy. The last few sets are going to be a lot more difficult, but you should be able to kind of finish it fully. And so as you guys can see, throughout those 3 weeks, intensity increases, effort increases, and after that 3rd week, that is where you kind of reset once again. Give yourself an easier week of training, but I've talked about how to do this exactly with step loading in one of my previous videos. So these are 2 examples, one wave loading program and one step loading program, but like intensity kind of varies throughout any program, whether that is step, linear or wave progression, because regardless of what you are running, you always need to give yourself the ebb and flow of training to make long-term progress. And then we're gonna take a look at how intensity actually changes throughout a training week. This is something I actually recently made a video about, and as you guys know, if you're training twice a week, you're never gonna have 2 very difficult workouts in the same week. You're always gonna have one workout that is substantially harder than the other one, to once again allow for an ebb and flow of training even in the same training week. I just made a video about this, so I'm gonna go over this quite quickly. So on a volume and an intensity day, you're gonna have one day where you're really going through the vast majority of your volume, and then the second workout is just a very short singular stimulus with a heavier weight. So once again, the volume day is going to be substantially harder than the intensity day, once again ending up with a harder and an easier workout. Now with heavy and light days, the exact same thing actually happens. So the heavy day is going to be the one where effort is going to be higher and therefore intensity is going to be higher, and the other one is going to be roughly the same but definitely substantially easier than the first workout or the heavy workout of that same training week. And that is essentially how intensity varies throughout a program and also throughout a training week. The main thing to take away from this video is that if you are training, you're never gonna go hard every single week, every single training session. It's not productive. You need periods of time where training is going to be substantially easier to allow yourself to train with proper form, embed proper form, and recover properly, and really set you up as best as possible for the very hard workouts coming in the future. And with that being said, that is all I want to talk about in today's video. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any more questions, video ideas or advice, let me know down below in the comment section. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Latest.